Okay,
All
I'm
right,
in.
just hit record again, so you're my witness to that. And we are going in three, two, one. Here we are. This is shoot number two. We had a little technical difficulty this morning, so we're shooting number two inside of our offices. My name is Scott Mueller, and I am with a company called Bones Consulting, and I am also at the forefront of a company called 30 Pastors currently. And we are doing a lot of research and shooting a lot of videos with experts in the industry of churches and ministry and business. And we hope that we don't Christianese this up too much today. We hope that we don't hit you in the head with the Bible. We give you the opportunity of a different way of looking at life, different way of looking at your relationships, and a different way of looking at your um, integrity today. My name is Scott Mueller, and I have a special guest and a special friend online today with me, Jamie Morgan.
Hey, Scott, how are you, man?
I'm great.
Thanks
Thanks
for
for
having me.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure. And Chick-fil-A says that all the time, and I really mean that.
That's right. I really
So,
mean that.
where we're from, we have tons of Chick-fil-A's because I'm here in Tennessee. Do you have Chick-fil-A in where you're from?
We do, man. I'm in St. Paul, Missouri, just north of O'Fallon, Missouri, just west of St. Louis. And yeah, we have Chick-fil-A right up the road, probably 10 minutes away from our house. That's probably a bad thing, too.
My daughter is addicted to Chick-fil-A, so
I think everybody on the planet is.
some pretty good chicken. Pretty good chicken.
Mhm.
So tell me, Jamie, tell our audience, I know what you do, but tell our audience what you do, your title. I know that's not important to you, but what you do with that title and with that degree that you've earned and you hang on
Sure.
your wall.
Sure. So I'm a licensed professional counselor. I counsel individuals, marriages, people in relationship. That's what I do, man. I'm really, I'm really about helping people find their passion and living a life that they love. I mean, that's really what it is. My goal to communicate to people is it doesn't have to be this way. Like that's just really it. Like we settle, I think, a lot, Scott. And as a counselor, I help people get unstuck from that rut that they've got themselves into.
Yeah, and you break that mold for me, and I'm proud of you for that because you break that mold of counseling doesn't have to be endured forever to break
Mm-mm.
out of that mold.
Yeah.
And what you said earlier was you brought up passion, and say that again. You really like to see people live their passion. How'd you say that exactly?
Oh yeah. So, when you think about getting people to a place that they're actually excited to wake up.
That's right.
They're fired up about life. They're fired up about whether it's their job, their family, what they got going on, what they're working on, whatever it is.
Hmm.
But getting them to a point where, again, it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be the hamster wheel that we all tend to live on. Wake up, go to work, come home, cook dinner, go to bed, wake up. I mean, that's a hamster wheel, right? We don't need that. That's not what God created us for. So I think there's a big opportunity for people to really live into who God created them to be.
The difference between surviving and thriving. And that's
Yeah,
one of our
right.
topics. That's one of our topics of discussion. We got about, what do we list out? We listed out 23 different topics of discussion. We're
Yeah.
introducing you to this today. We're going to call the series From Preaching to Reaching, and we're doing some research. If you'd like to be involved in that research as a pastor, as a ministry leader, please get a hold of me. You can text me at scott@30pastors.com, or you can text Jamie, as I said text, I meant email. Someday those are all going to be merged together,
That's
hopefully.
right.
Jamie,
Yeah.
would you give us your email address that you'd like people to reach out to you?
Yeah. Family counselor, my family counselor at gmail.com. My family
My
counselor at gmail.com.
myfamilycounselor@gmail.com. Okay. So that's how you can reach us both today. And we're going to give you more information on how you can reach us later. And we're going to jump right in to one of those 23 topics. We're already about halfway through this simple podcast, this video log that you hopefully are joining us. And you can go forward. Hopefully, by the time you get this one, hopefully there'll be more on the way. And we're
Right.
going to jump into a conversation that we think is very, very important, called the integrity conversation. And I'm going to start out this conversation by looking at my phone, and I'm going to tell you a specific pet peeve. So I'm going to throw a few people under the bus, but the cool part is they're not going to know who I'm throwing under the bus. But I have a list right here, Jamie, of, let's see, we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. We're going to stop at 22 pastors I have on my phone list. Now, Jamie, if I pick up the phone today and dial those pastors and say, hey, Pastor X, give me a call, how many of them you think will call me back? Let's load this gun, Jamie.
That's good, man. So how many of those will call you back? Yeah, probably. I think if we're really being generous, Scott, 15 to 20%.
Yeah, that's very generous, and I've actually done it. Had some issues, had some things that I needed to talk to some pastors about, and just decided to roll through the list, either with text or phone messages. And I didn't do it intentionally to throw these guys under the bus. But what I've realized is that pastors are just way too busy, and that leads us and that's
Are they?
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm seeing by statistics that we've checked out. Pastors are overwhelmed. 90 some percent of pastors are way too overwhelmed. They wear too many hats. We hear all these things, right, that has them not call us back. So that leads us into this conversation called integrity. And integrity, by Google standards, by Wiki standards, by whoever puts these up on Google, the definition of an integrity is supposedly the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, moral uprightness, the state of being whole and undivided. Is that what we're talking about today, Jamie?
Yeah, I think we're close. I think that's that's close, but that's not how I view integrity. Whenever I think about what integrity means as a human being, right, is I think it's doing the right thing when no one else is around. I think integrity is honoring your commitments. I think integrity means honoring your word, right? Like the Bible says, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Say what you mean what you say. I think that really encompasses the feeling of integrity.
That's right. Well, you and I have talked about this conversation. We've studied this conversation, and we have actually, both you and I and our families and a lot of our friends have started the conversation of integrity, or we are in the conversation of integrity. And again, it's what we're looking at today is the difference between moral integrity and a working definition of integrity. And just so you know, with the introduction, Jamie, we're at about 9 minutes, so we're gonna shave this down short today, and we're really gonna tease you. And so, what is it about that conversation that I'm having with pastors that doesn't work? Let's start there. So what about that conversation? How can I call 25 pastors and have only 20% or so call me back? And how does that work for them? Or how does that not work for us as human beings?
Yeah, I think what really happens, Scott, whenever someone is so here, let me lay a little bit more foundation for you, if you don't mind.
Well,
whenever I think about integrity, I think that you're either in integrity or you're out of integrity, right? So, and we can define that later, but being in integrity is doing those things, and being out of integrity is not doing those things. I think there's an expectation that when you text a pastor or you call a pastor or you email a pastor, that there's going to be a response. That's the shepherd to the flock, right? So I think what happens in the impact, Scott, is when a pastor specifically is out of integrity, I think what really happens is we start to doubt them, we lose trust in them, and it's unfortunate, but what we do is we equate how the pastor is to how God is. Mm. So if I can't trust the pastor to call me back or pay attention to me, am I important to him? I think human nature says, am I important to God? Can I trust God to meet my needs? Mm. So I think that's the impact.
Yeah, and it probably goes more likely, and we kind of skipped a little bit, but it probably goes from pastor to his organization and then flows down into God. So we're going to use this today. This is part one. Okay, part one of our integrity series. And we're gonna end this with, we want to thank you for joining us. We got you thinking, hopefully, and we picked on pastors a little bit more than what we probably should have. So we hope that we at least got you thinking, is there really a difference between integrity morally and integrity on how it works? And we're going to jump into part two here in a second. But I'd like to thank you for joining us. This is our first video log, our first podcast. My name is Scott Mueller from 30 Pastors and Bones Consulting. And I got Jamie Morgan on here from
My Family Counseling, www.myfamilycounseling.com.
So thanks for joining us for part one. We're going to jump and we're going to hopefully catch you in part number two.